Eric, you got me?
I got you.
What's your overall reaction?
Again, I can repeat the message that the players have just had in there. There's a real sense of satisfaction and happiness with the 3 points because we've been in positions like that playing far better and not got over the line. And I can tell you that is really not a nice feeling. So to have not played well at all and come away in fairly difficult circumstances. It would have been plain to see at home, really, really hot, really sticky, required breaks in either half, difficult conditions. But to come away with a win and 3 points, I'm very pleased. But I've said to the players that the performance is so far below the level that is acceptable or that has come to be acceptable that we'll also go home with. Yeah, a sense of bitterness around that for sure, and we've got some real work to do.
What were the main issues you felt in the first half in particular?
Yeah, I did, well, number one, I think we made repeated unforced errors on the ball and really made their life very easy in terms of getting it back and turn the ball over. In quick succession multiple times, which really cost us in terms of rhythm. But I think you could tell from kickoff the way kickoff went. If you watch that back, that set the tone for the first 15 minutes, and that is just not a level that we can be at if we want to hit the heights that we've hit so far and that we want to continue hitting. I think we really struggled defensively from the perspective of being aggressive, of getting out of our back five and finding the pressure that we typically find really well on the sides of the pitch. And I think we did a far better job at half time of that once we'd made um, some subtle tweaks to the way in which we wanted to defend and were clear on some of the details that needed to change. And I think the second half we were far better. I think of course everyone will look back at the red card as a turning point, but I think the opening 15-20 minutes of the second half we were far better for looking slightly different. The adaptations that we'd made, and I think Rob made a really good impact. I think Bongi made a really good impact, and that's what was needed from subs in those conditions. So yeah, we're extremely disappointed with that first half, and there'll be a lot for us to pick apart.
What did you say to the team, or did anybody say anything in particular to try to rally and get the result that you guys did to kind of rally the guys?
I wanted half time to be very constructive. I think in those situations you can I think as a coaching staff, you can let your frustration show. The players for sure were frustrated. You could tell in the first water break that there was that level of frustration amongst them, and I wanted to make sure halftime was very constructive and that we gave the players something very tangible that they could grasp and take into the second half in terms of some tactical changes, the way in which we wanted to press, the way in which we wanted to use the ball, and I think that as a framework helped. I think the individuals that came onto the pitch helped. I think Rob gives you a real calmness and authority on the ball, and I think Bongi he was obviously able to get more pressure on that side than Julian was able to do so in the first half, and that's the nature of just the difference in profile, and that's not a criticism of Julian in any way because that's Bongi's edge for sure from a physical perspective. He is more dynamic, is able to press over bigger distances, and I think once we got to grips with that, I think the game largely turned in our favour, and I think we were able to force some relatively good chances, some half chances, some set plays, and ultimately the very clear cut chance that leads to the penalty and the sending off. So we looked much different in the second half, and that was required because had we continued as we were in the first half, that would have been a really difficult day.
What has struck you in your time with Kelvin Yeboah about his poise from the spot?
No, incredible. And I said to him at the end, the level of personality that he's shown across two penalties, facing their supporters section in a game that, yeah, not make or break, but high stakes game as we're now into the final 10, and we've got our eyes on the positions above us. We really want to keep pace with the guys on top. We really want to separate ourselves from the guys below, and the players will feel the gravity of that. And Kelvin certainly in those moments to show the personality and character to do what he did was phenomenal, and he's had a couple of good days here. I remember last time out here he helped us out in very similar circumstances. I think we struggled with the way it feels here, the atmosphere in the opening stages of last year's game, and we talked a little bit about that today. And Kelvin got us out of trouble last year, and today, whilst he hasn't had chance after chance in open play, nor huge moments in open play. In those situations, it requires someone with real personality, and he's shown that in abundance.
When you come with the hesitation, obviously goalkeepers are going to know that and scout for that. Do you really have to kind of mix your spot and your placement in order to keep them guessing?
I'm probably the wrong person to be asking that question. That'll be a good one for Kelvin and the guys that take penalties in that way. I can't pretend to number one probably have the nerve to take a penalty in that way, but in order to be able to describe some of the subtleties to it, and I know it's something that he practices, something that's obviously stood him in good stead so far. And there was something similar with Marcus Rashford at Man United, and I always felt there's a real art to that. But you watch those guys practice, and they've got it down to a T. And Kelvin, as I say, has shown across those moments since he's been here the ability to really take the weight and the pressure that surrounds those situations, and he's put us in a really good spot.
Uh, what did you think of? Did you have any gripes with Boxall's PK?
No, to be honest, I haven't watched that back in detail. I don't think we had a quick look at the replays on the bench, and I don't think anyone had huge arguments. I might say different if I watch it back in slow mo a couple of times, but I think to be brutally honest, we deserved that at that point. We hadn't done nearly enough to get a foothold in the game, and the fact that we were probably one down by the time that penalty went in was fortunate, I would say.
Did Morris Duggan's play stand out to you at all? It just seems like he's got some poise.
He has, and he's someone that I've uh, been wanting to get on the pitch, wanting to help develop as a player because I feel like he made some really good steps over preseason. We did a lot of work, we talked a lot. He made a real impact over the course of the first 6 games, and I think when Nico Romero came in and has done so well for us, and I'm sure will continue to do so, Morris. Found himself in a position where he was probably fourth choice in that back line, and then an injury or two set him back a little bit, and now he is showing again signs of being someone that can make a real mark for us. And I think you've also seen him coming on to help us close games out on a couple of occasions. He's been exceptional for us, and the word that you use is appropriate. He shows a lot of poise, a lot of composure. For a guy who's not played a lot of games at this level, he shows a real confidence and a real personality, and obviously has some characteristics that make him a really interesting player: tall, athletic, aggressive, left-footed, calm on the ball, and we really want to make sure we got good competition across that back line, and he provides that.
Just one final one for me. Looking ahead to League's Cup, will you prioritize the home games? Or I know we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday, but do you feel like just given the weight of the Houston game against Club America?
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting format this year, and obviously far more difficult to progress than it has been in previous years, as far as I understand. And I think that next Saturday in Houston in an atmosphere that I'm sure will feel like a home game for Club America against a top side. That will be really difficult, but we will for sure approach every game with a real seriousness, and I think the fact that we were able to go and win tonight was really helpful in that sense, because I feel like we're able to put to one side the league play, really try and take the team a step further over the course of the coming days and weeks in the window, and hopefully come out the other side of League's Cup in a position where we can really attack the last 9 games of the season and see where that takes us, because I think we've done really well to get into this position going into this competition, and yeah, I'm not going to be too downbeat about the performance tonight, because ultimately I feel like we've battled really hard on the road over the course of the last however many months in really difficult conditions as you get to the summer, and we've come out in a really good place, and nights like tonight, they really help you there.
Thanks, Eric.
All
Thanks,
right.
Andy. Speak soon. Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
Eric. Safe travels.